Okay guys, we're going to take a look at problem 2.8 in your textbook today. That's problem 2.8, determination of profitability. We're going to prepare in good form an income statement for Franklin Kite Company. We're going to take our calculations all the way to computing earnings per share, and we've been given a number of numbers that we need to consider where they fall in our income statement. So I'm going to go ahead and start by giving our worksheet a title here. Problem 2.8, and if we're going to prepare this in good form, let's go ahead and give this a title, Franklin Kite Company. And income statement. Now in good form you'd want to center those, but we're going to go ahead and just sort of complete an outline of this real quick. So Franklin Kite Company, we're given some information, but we need to first consider what the outline of a good income statement in proper form would be. So in this case you can see that we've got sales. It's typically the first item on an income statement, and you might remember the next item on an income statement we subtract is cost of goods sold. So we'll go ahead and put that here. And what do you think comes after cost of goods sold? Do you remember? Yes, it's called gross profit. So we'll net the two there. Call that gross profit. And after the gross profit, what do you think we subtract next? That's right, selling and administrative. And it looks like we have also another operational expense we would subtract here called depreciation. And that gives us operating profit. Then we subtract interest expense. To arrive at earnings before taxes. Then we have taxes that we subtract. And finally, we have earnings after taxes, or normally net income. Okay. Now, given that information, we can go ahead and enter our numbers that were provided in the problem. 900,000 would be our sales figure, right? And then we have cost of goods sold of 400,000. We subtract those. And we subtract cost of goods sold from sales to arrive at gross profit. Then we have selling and administrative expenses of 60,000. We have depreciation expense of 20,000. And to arrive at operating profit, we'd want to go ahead and subtract those from gross profit. Then we've been given our interest expense of 40,000. And earnings before taxes then would be our operating profit minus interest expense. $380,000. Okay. Then how many taxes do we have according to the problem? There are $50,000 in taxes. So earnings after taxes are going to be 380,000 minus 50,000, or $330,000 in earnings after taxes. Once we have that number, we have to take a look at the rest of this. It says, take your calculations all the way to computing earnings per share. Now, earnings per share are going to be the amount of earnings per share of common stock outstanding. Okay, and we're given that information. There's 50,000 shares outstanding, but there's also some other information here. Preferred stock dividends were paid out of $80,000. So to determine how much we actually have of this amount of earnings to pay to common shareholders, we have to subtract preferred stock dividends first, because as you might recall, preferred stock dividends have to be paid to those preferred shareholders before common dividends can be paid to the common shareholders. So let's go ahead and enter that information here on our spreadsheet. And that leaves earnings available to common stockholders of, well, looks like we're going to have to widen that just a little bit, of this number, which is earnings after taxes, minus preferred dividends. That leaves us with $250,000 available to common stockholders. So to determine how much in earnings per share that would be, we have to take a look at the number of shares outstanding, and it looks like it's 50,000 shares outstanding, which means that we have earnings per share of this number, $250,000 divided by the number of earnings, or the number of shares outstanding, which is 50,000. And that gives us $5 in earnings. Now let's go ahead and clean this up a little bit. Okay, I'm going to change the format of the cells to number. Let's change it to currency. No decimal places. That looks good. And I'll go ahead and change this as well. Currency. And this. And this. And there you have it. There's the answer to problem 2.8.